Show, episode 76. I can't believe it, 76 episodes. It's been a few years doing this show, and I'm excited to get back uh, into the podcast world with you guys. I've been very, very busy writing. As you may know, I have two books coming out very soon: The Secrets of Spanish Tennis 2, and a new book that's actually being published right now, serially, digitally, called Winning Pretty. It's a technique book, and that's at tennisplayer.net. So be sure to check that out if you like technique. If you're interested in biomechanics and the biomechanics of the modern game, check out the new book, Winning Pretty. It's at tennisplayer.net, and it will be published traditionally in paperback in 2025. But The Secrets of Spanish Tennis 2 is coming out very soon, September 1st, coinciding with the US Open, so I'm very excited about that as well. Check out those two new books. I think they're going to be really popular. And on today's show, I did want to talk about summer camp, and I just wanted to put a brief guide together for tennis parents, maybe to go over some quote-unquote secrets or things that maybe parents should be aware of when they're looking for summer camp. We're very busy with our own high-performance summer camp season, and I know I get a lot of questions from parents about summer camp and, what are the pitfalls, what are things to look out for, what are the important things that you should try to find in a summer camp for your kid. I think it's actually really difficult to find a high-quality summer camp these days. There's a lot of choices, there are a lot of summer camps, but actually I think the amount of really high-quality summer camps are very few. Tough to find around the world, really, not just in the US. I did a podcast maybe a year or so ago, might have been 2 years now, on summer camp pitfalls. So if you look that up on the channel, pitfalls, summer camp pitfalls, I talk about some of the things to watch out for in summer camp, some of the common mistakes that I see families making when they sign up for camp, things like that. But I wanted to go over a few things for parents. And then I thought next week I would put together just a short guide for players, like how to prepare, how to get ready for camp. Especially my angle is high performance camp and high performance training. So if that's the kind of thing you're interested in, but I'll try to touch on just some general subjects too. But the first thing that I wanted to talk about is the coach and the coaching. So when you sign up for a camp, you want to know who is going to be working with your kid. So at a lot of camps, they may hire temporary staff. They may have some big name coaches who are really, really good. Especially the most famous academies usually have some very good coaches who are working at those academies. But almost never does your kid get to work with those coaches unless they pay for extra private lessons or things like that. I can think of many examples of this, but just for example, I was at Juan Carlos Ferrero's academy in the summer last year visiting in Spain. And it's an incredible academy, and they produce a lot of professional players. But I was there with a family that was a little bit frustrated because they wanted to work with Juan Carlos Ferrero, and he wasn't really available. He was available for $2,000 per hour, but he wasn't really available to work with any of the players. And so that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. Just, you try to find, you sometimes sign up for a camp, maybe it has a big name. There's usually some senior coaches who are really good, but a lot of times the senior coaches only work with the pros. The top coach may not even be there. He may be traveling. He may be in the office. He or she may be working only with the ITF juniors, only with the most advanced, most elite players. So I think that's just in general, you sign up for a camp and you want to know who is actually going to be coaching your kid. Is the top coach going to be around working with your child, or who are the staff? Are they really good staff? Are they well trained? Are they just like high school and college kids who really don't have a lot of experience coaching? Are they well supervised? I think those are the questions to ask. The team that's coaching your kids, very, very important. Related to that, I wanted to talk about kind of like the ratio and the number of kids. So if you sign up for a camp that has 100, 200, 300 campers a week, like that's an incredible amount of kids. That if you ever run a camp, it's so hard to keep track of that many numbers. It's so hard to give individual attention. What's the ratio? are there 4 kids per court, 5 kids per court? Is 6 kids per court allowed? Is it 3 kids per court or 2 kids per court? Some of the best camps that I know, very hard to find in summer, two per court, 2 players per court, 2 players per coach. So it's almost like a private lesson, semi-private lesson in the summer. If you can find quality like that, you know you're going to get something good, something special. Whereas at most camps, it's going to be 4 or more players per court. If you have a camp with just, hundreds of students, it's really hard to get that personal attention that a lot of parents want. So I think a smaller camp is generally better. Unless your kid just needs like hitting matches, doesn't need a lot of specific work, certainly doesn't need technical work, things like that, and they just want an experience to go to like a really big famous place like an IMG or some of the bigger academies out there that are really famous places, the Rafa Nadal Academy, things like that. I just think in general smaller academies better, unless you have like a special connection somewhere. Maybe one coach is going to watch over your kid while they're at the academy. I always tell parents you should try to go to the academy or send a coach with the player, especially if it's a big academy, and then you'll definitely get more personal attention that way. I know a lot of parents want to send their kids away, get their kids out of their hair for some weeks in the summer too. But if you're sending your kid away and you're not going to be there, you're not going to be involved, you're not going to be the squeaky wheel that gets the oil, I would say try to find something smaller where the kid is going to get more personal attention, and look for something with a good ratio. And again, find out who is actually going to be teaching your kid day to day. That's huge. That's a big part of the learning. I think a lot of camps nowadays are generic, and there's a camp formula that I would advise against going to camps that are really generic, unless you're just trying to save some money. You just need to park your kid for a few weeks and get them a lot of matches and some generic drills with not a lot of good information. There are plenty of places like that. You can get a camp like that. I mean, that's fine if that's what you need. But like if you want really good instruction, if you want personalized training, if you want your son or daughter to work with really experienced coaches, you're going to have to search that out and try to find something better. And they're hard to find. There are some camps like that. I can think of one in Spain that is on my mind right now, that I usually recommend players go to. There's a number of good academies in Spain. There's a number of good academies. So I differentiate camp from academies. Camp is like a summer operation. I know many, many really good academies that I would maybe hesitate to recommend their summer programs, because the summer programs are just like separate entities. Like they're run differently. Sometimes they have different staff. They have different priorities. They have different player cohorts. In a lot of elite academies, the summer camp is very, very different than the actual academy, like the annual academy with the annual kids. So I always say that's a huge pitfall to watch out for. Just unfortunately, a lot of academies will brand their summer camp as the same as their annual program. I just don't think that's the case in most instances. So just watch out for that, and just look for the coaching, look for the ratio, find out who the head coach is, find out who's working with your kid, how many total campers are there? Is it a huge operation, or is it something that's more manageable where your kid can actually get some personal attention? I think those are important things for a summer camp. Number 2, I want to talk about technique. Nowadays there is a formula at camps, summer camps, where the coaches and the team, the philosophy is really not to teach technique in most instances. I can think of one very famous academy where the opposite is true, where they teach so much technique, your kid's guaranteed to come back after taking part in deep surgery, reconstructive surgery, so to speak. So I would guard against both extremes. Like, you send your kid away, the camp probably shouldn't be taking apart their whole games, like in the workshop, in the garage, and sending you back your kid in with new everything. Nothing that's finished, just like an unfinished box of parts, so to speak, like to use a car garage metaphor. Like, on the other hand, you don't want a camp that doesn't teach anything. If your kid has some major technical issues, maybe you like that the camp to work on those things in the summer. Maybe that's a great time to take a month and really try to hone some new techniques, or clean something up, or develop that world-class serve, or fix the forehand that's been bugging you, or work on footwork and movement, or whatever it is. I think the summer's a great time to do those kind of technical projects, those cleaning projects. But you cannot find a place to do it. It's very hard to find a camp that will do that kind of work. And you really want to get low numbers, low ratios, and maybe some extra private work, one-on-one work. If the camp is a very low ratio, maybe the team can do it. Like if all the groups are 2-to-1, maybe they can do that technical work. But you might just need to get also private lessons in addition to the regular program to get that extra attention, whatever you need to work on, especially when it comes to technique and movement and developing skills, things like that. But so just be on the lookout for camps that like take apart everything, like they're very rigid and dogmatic. I think that's dangerous. You want to be careful there. And on the other hand, camps that are completely laissez-faire, the kids basically just come and they do like drill of the day and then play matches. Like, will your kid get better if they do drill of the day, random stuff, and play matches? Probably, because they're just getting a lot of volume of training. But it's not going to be specific to their game, and there may be things that they're missing out on. Summertime's a great time to work on a lot of technical, especially for younger kids or someone who's got a problem stroke or difficulty with some specific area. So the third subject that I think is kind of a important pillar to look for is tactics, and related to tactics, mental. So a lot of camps now are offering like sort of like generic mental training, quote unquote mental training, like in the classroom. I think that can be good, but a lot of times it takes away from the actual training. So your kid actually gets less physical training, less court time, less actually hitting balls, and a little more classroom time. So I think that's not always the best way to go. You'd like to see the mental and the tactical integrated into the on-court training, so it's just more efficient. So that could be during match play, during point play, during the actual on-court sessions. You can work on tactics. You can work on the mental game. You can work on different aspects of being mentally tough. And I think the most efficient way to do that, especially in the summer, is on the court. Not to say that classroom instruction isn't good, but it just seems to eat up valuable time in the summer. You could easily supplement with like a book or some videos for the players so they can get that classroom, that more theoretical side of instruction, and then just make sure they're getting good coaching on the mental and the tactics on the court. It's important to play matches. So I think it is valuable in summer just to, if your player doesn't need a lot of technical work, to go somewhere where they can play a lot of matches, but then also get like good feedback from the matches, good instruction, because you can just play matches and sometimes it doesn't make you better because you're just playing match after match after match, and you're actually making the same mistake. You could, like one of my mentors in Spain, Luis Bruguera, says you can play 1,000 matches and not get any better because you just you need a lot of times feedback and help to sort of to go over the match with a coach who can give you some advice. And sometimes when you're in the match, you don't remember what happened, or you're so wrapped up in the battle that you can't really think as clearly as someone else who's watching. So to do a debrief after match play is very valuable, and then you can sort of craft your strategies and tactics from there. So to have match play is really great. You can play sets every day. That's awesome. We try to do that in our program in the summer, but you need feedback. It can't just be a match play and then no coaching. There has to be someone intelligent providing information so that you can grow as a player. I wanted to say that on the fourth pillar, physical fitness and injury prevention needs to be a priority. Unfortunately, again, I think a big problem in a lot of camps now, summer camps is the physical is put to the back burner. It's not taken very seriously. A lot of times they don't have any professional trainers involved, or if the trainers are really good, they're watering everything down to the lowest common denominator, and usually there's not a focus on injury prevention. So you have to be real careful. If your kid is playing a lot of tennis in the summer and maybe they're not used to that, and they're not doing any injury prevention, they're not doing any stretching, they're not doing exercises to strengthen the shoulder, they're not doing mobility work, you can easily get an injury at camp. So I think it's important that you have a sensible, well-constructed, evidence-based fitness program that focuses on injury prevention, takes care of all the players. You want a very low injury rate at camp. And that takes a very knowledgeable trainer, someone with a background in exercise science, to craft a program like that. You don't want just, there may be some camps that are way overboard and the kids are doing a ton of inappropriate exercises that could get them injured. And that's in addition to the tennis load that they're experiencing every day. So they're doing a lot more tennis and maybe an inappropriate amount of physical training. But I think more commonly is that the camps are not really doing anything serious in terms of injury prevention and getting stronger and becoming a better athlete and things like that. So I really think it's important that you go to camp. And the next week's show, and I tell players, one of the most important messages for players is start doing some strengthening, start doing some stretching and mobility, start to get your body prepared so that you don't go to camp and then get injured, because that's like the worst situation. You go to camp and get injured and you can't really play as much as you'd like to. So physical fitness, injury prevention, you want a serious physical fitness program. You want to know who is supervising the kids during their physical fitness time. Is it well thought out? Is it evidence-based? Is there someone with a sports science background running the show and making sure the kids are doing healthy, smart things to make their bodies stronger and to prevent injuries? Number 5, this is kind of a simple one. Does the camp have indoor courts, access to indoor courts? Are the indoor courts close, and are they available in case of rain? So it's not a big deal. If you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of rain, then you're good to go. But I know that in the Northeast here, I've run a camp in the Northeast now for, I think this is our 18th year, and I've done a sleepaway camp for the last 8 years. And there's been a lot of rain. I can think the last 5 years we've had a lot of rain. And I know camps that don't have indoors, I don't know what they do. I don't know how they even survive. And I don't know how they don't get huge demands for refunds and big complaints, because if you have rain many days of the week, I mean, it can just ruin your whole schedule. So it's really important to have indoor courts if you're sending your kid away for camp. That would be one of the first questions I have. Like, do you have access to indoor courts? Because if it's a nice weather week, everything's perfect. But if you happen to get unlucky and you have a bad weather week, I mean, you don't want to waste your money, and you want your kid to be able to train even if the weather's not good. It may not be perfect training, but having indoor courts is huge when you run a camp. I can tell you that from firsthand experience. Thank goodness we do have indoor courts in my program. And number 6 is it's a simple pillar. It's not really a secret, but you may not realize it as a parent, is that it'd be nice to have a camp that will follow up with you after the camp is over. A lot of camps will send a generic scorecard, sort of like a summary or like a report. But I really, really think those reports are oftentimes not worth the page they're printed on. Like, they're oftentimes hastily filled out. They're not very thoughtful. And I know from experience working in other camps when I was younger, a lot of times the coaches are super stressed when they're filling out those reports. They go through them really fast, and they end up just sort of writing a lot of generic things for just to get through them, because they're difficult, especially if you have hundreds of campers to write reports for. So you get those reports, I think you have to take them with a grain of salt, and it's much better to have something specific, like maybe some video follow-up. You can get a report if the report is individualized and well thought out. And I just think that's very important to have intelligent follow-up for all, on all the things your kid's been working on. I can't believe that a lot of kids go to camp and whatever they're working on, there's no coordination with the home coaches, with the parents, how is a kid going to take what they learned and bring it back home and continue to grow? The opposite usually happens. The kid maybe learns something, but then they go home and they don't have the follow through. They're not sure what to work on. They forget what they were working on. Their parents don't know. Their coach at home doesn't know. And sure enough, the kid just sort of goes sideways, or maybe even reverts back to their old technique, or they get, maybe even worse, they get lost and they don't know what they're doing anymore, or they sort of relinquish all the gains that they made in the summer because there was no follow-up. So I think that is a huge part of camp. You want a camp that will maybe even keep the relationship, like, for example, I have many kids who come to my camp that I end up seeing them throughout the year because I like them and I want to help them. They like me and we end up working together more. But at the minimum, like, let's say if I have a camper comes from far away who I can't really see very frequently, I'm going to send some messaging. I'm going to send some messages to their parents. I'm going to maybe send some video back home with them. A lot of times I'll have group chats with their coaching team back home, and I'll try to tell them what we're working on and try to give them some insight so that the coach back home can continue the work. I don't think that communication is really common from my experience speaking with lots of parents who send their kids to camp. So yeah, we're just talking about summer camp and sort of secrets or important pillars for parents. We had a question here. What's the subject of today's show? It's just about summer camp because summer camp's coming up. I put forward 6 pillars or 6 sort of secrets to be aware of. And I also think you guys should check out my last podcast on pitfalls, the pitfalls of summer camp. It's a longer show. I think I talked at length about different pitfalls that I've seen in summer camps. I think it was about a year or 2 ago. So check that out, the pitfalls. I wanted to talk just briefly about what we're working on here at the club. At the club in Manchester, Vermont, I'm building a team of homeschool players. So if you are a homeschool athlete, tennis player, you have a love for tennis, and if you're a parent, if you have a kid who's doing that, we are looking for a few more players to join our full-time team. And it's very exciting. I have a club here. It's an indoor-outdoor club. We have clay courts, red clay, and indoor hard. We have a gym and a clubhouse. Where it's a modest club, but what I've done here is I made the club, it's basically only available for the families that are living and training here with me. So it's a pretty cool setup where you could bring your family or you could bring your little superstar. And we can train full-time, according to a homeschooling plan. I prefer to work with homeschooling kids or online school kids. We train full-time professional training, also fitness, and I take over all the development of each player. And from there, we try to go to tournaments, and we're looking to develop top national and international players from here. And we're in a beautiful spot here in the mountains. So if you have a player and if you're interested in homeschooling or online schooling, or you're already doing that, and maybe you're having trouble getting court time, you're having trouble getting access to elite coaching, we have a really good program. It has to be the right fit. Obviously, I got to meet your player, and you have to meet me, and we have to see if we kind of gel and vibe. And you also have to fit in with the other players we have here and other families here. But it's pretty exciting, and the project's going very well so far. And for the right family with the right kid who wants to have like full access to indoor-outdoor club for basically low cost, and who wants to get access to really good coaching, I think it's a great opportunity. So if you have a player who's loves tennis, wants to be a pro, wants to be a top college player, definitely consider that. Hit me up. My WhatsApp number is 914-462-2912. It's also my cell, 914-462-2912. If you're international, you can just WhatsApp me at the same number, Chris Lewitt. And yeah, we have the camp coming up. So we got a busy summer. We've got the high performance camp coming up. And then watch out for the books. At the end of the summer, Secrets of Spanish Tennis 2 is coming out. And I put so much passion and love into that book. It's much better than the first book, which was really a bestseller and like the seminal work on Spanish tennis. I think this second Spanish book is really good. I think you guys are going to love it. And then Winning Pretty is a different book. It's about technique, it's about biomechanics. It's at tennisplayer.net. Check it out. You do have to pay to access that book because it's behind a paywall. It's on a magazine site. It's being published by the magazine, one chapter a month right now. I have a discount code if you need that. It's on all my socials if you need to get access to that. But I think it's going to be the definitive technical and biomechanical book for the modern game. It's well researched, has a lot of sports science in there. A lot of everything is as best as possible is research based, and it's also based on my experience, studying with great coaches over the course of my career. So I think it's a really good technical guide. Be sure to check that out too. Thanks, guys. I'm going to sign off. I will have a show for players, how to get ready for camp. I think we'll try to do that next week. I appreciate you tuning into the program, and look out for more programs. I'm sorry that I've been waylaid with the book writing, but as you know, writing a book takes a lot of work. I write my own books. I don't have a ghostwriter, I don't have someone writing for me. So I'm doing that book writing late at night, early in the mornings, and a lot of cups of decaf coffee, and a lot of passion and effort. So I've been away from the podcast. Appreciate you guys being patient with. I know that the rate of podcasts has slowed. We used to come out every week, but now it's a little less frequent. But I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate you supporting the program. All right, thanks. See you soon.